here we are again. I was asked last time I did a video like this whether it was a vlog, and I said no, but to be honest, if you want to count this as somebody vlogging their political awakening and their increased cynicism with the world around him, then sure, it's a vlog. In my last video on The Bear, I spoke about what I felt was the true meaning behind that show, which I felt revolved around the phrase every second counts, and making the most of life, be that following your passion, or spending time with those you love, or whatever happiness means for you. And within the context of The Bear and my connection to it, I do feel like this is a touching message, but you know what, it's something I'm becoming increasingly fatigued with in real life. This is now the point in the video where I talk about the meaning of life, so strap in. Now, I'm not trying to say this stuff isn't important, because of course it is. Go find your passion and spend as much time as possible with those you love, but is that enough? I feel the majority of people I've asked about the meaning of life would answer that it's all about the pursuit of happiness. Just like I said with The Bear, it's about finding your passion, spending your time wisely, etc, 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 whatever makes you happy. But what if I were to say that the pursuit of happiness as a life goal is outdated and not conducive to our current surroundings and the improvement of our world? Dutch author and co-creator of the School for Moral Ambition, Rutger Bregman, wrote in his latest book, also titled Moral Ambition, that the pursuit of happiness as a life goal feeds into the broader world issue of individualistic thinking, separating people from each other and separating people from engaging with the important political happenings of the world. I'm gonna have to move you. Spider-Man, I'm sorry. I want to show off the book ski. There we go. And this isn't something I'm necessarily going to say is our fault. I just believe there's a misplaced belief in the strength of modern democracy and the effective distractions from serious issues that are placed upon us, which keep our eyes diverted from where our focus should be, and that's on holding the powerful to account as well as pursuing our own personal happiness, not just one or the other. However, with these individualistic life goals, people are naturally only going to focus on what's immediate to them rather than sympathize, engage, and help with those around them because of the ingrained worldview among the mass Western population that you can and you should do whatever you want. Rutger questions in his book why working as part of a collective good isn't as popular a life goal as, say, pursuing a goal or making money, which again isn't to say you shouldn't do these things or should be pursuing something that's going to make you miserable, but as Rutger puts it, why don't people seek to use their skills they enjoy and push more towards practical goals rather than superficial or less effective jobs that they could be doing, potentially wasting their talents in jobs that have minimal effect on the greater good? Take myself, for example. I grew up in a privileged household with the freedom and financial backing given to me by my parents to pursue whatever I wanted. My parents very much believed in the mindset of protecting their own first, without much attention being paid to the wider world and its issues, which again, I don't blame them for, and that's likely how you were brought up too, but this naturally filtered its way down to me, naturally causing me to almost entirely focus my own individual goals rather than anything out with my insulating bubble. I was thrust towards my favorite pastimes and media consumption, like pro wrestling, music, film, television. That's why half this bookshelf is that shit. Which up until last year I would have described as the fields I would have wanted to go into because it's what I was passionate about. I wanted to either be directly involved in these industries or involve myself in them from a journalistic or analytical context, and that remained my goal until, as I said, around late last year into this year, which is where my goal shifted. As what I called my political awakening began to take hold and I became more and more passionate and aware of the issues that I hold dear, I began to see what I believe to be my passions as less and less important in the bigger picture and felt I should instead be getting directly involved in things that matter more in the world, especially considering the fractured political climate we currently find ourselves in. I've regularly mentioned Zach Beauchamp's book, The Reactionary Spirit, on this channel, and surprise, surprise, I'm about to do it again because I feel its modern relevance cannot be overstated. You can go on the... There you go, you go on the shelf too. In a time where those in political power in the West are unsatisfied with the state of modern democracy, they are looking to steer the ship backwards to redefine what the modern world is, returning us to a less progressive and increasingly conservative and authoritarian world because, as Zach frames it in his book, the only way to go when you have a functioning democracy is backwards, and that's the moment of time in which we currently live. Add into that the capitalistic distraction-fueled neoliberal structure that the modern world is built upon that I mentioned before, and we ourselves play a massive part in democracy being dialed back because we aren't paying attention to what's actually happening. So if that's true, I feel it's our responsibility to adjust our lives accordingly to combat this dial turn, because only in a functioning democracy I believe that the idea of the pursuit of happiness as a life goal actually holds up. If you want to follow your passions and spend time guilt-free with your loved ones, maybe take a stab at contributing to holding up the very democratic foundations which allow us to pursue personal happiness in the first place. I feel like the notion that people can and should just focus on themselves in an age where that individualism is being weaponized to not only pit us against each other, but also take advantage of our ignorance in the most blatant ways possible, is kind of ridiculous, and frankly we could all be doing a lot better. Surely we can put more time aside from our own personal ambitions to take a look at what's going on around us and take action for the greater good. Be that for the climate crisis, the genocide in Gaza, global wealth disparity, AI and misinformation, growing minority hate crimes, or whatever other important issues you'd like to pick from the Rolodex of shit wrong with the world right now that you aren't taking action on. Now, normally this would just be the end of the video. Be a better person, subscribe, etc. But I'm not going to end it there. I'm not fucking leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Because I know that message can simply ring hollow and preachy. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I also understand it's not simply as easy for people to just up and take action. People have shit going on in their lives. Many have stresses and problems that consume them, or may not have the time or money to contribute as effectively as they'd like. We're all brought up differently, and our worlds and mindsets are all shaped by different messages and motivations which influence the way we act and the decisions we make. We're not robots, we're emotional beings with less control over our own lives than we'd actually like to believe. However, if I could impart anything in this video to make you feel something, or to call you to help and take action if you have the capacity to do so, let it be this. I don't want you to feel like I've argued in this video that you need to put everything in your life and the stuff that you love aside. You're not a robot. You're not meant to robotically serve morally righteous things. However, I do feel we especially now have more of a responsibility to do better than we actually are. Ideally, I'd like this video to reach someone like me, who's been more politically aware without taking too much action, but who has the inkling in their stomach that they could and should do more. And I mean you. Yes, you. Take a walk with me. It's not easy. I literally just wrote an article for my site about how social media in the modern world is constructed. Makes it harder for you to just get a single uninterrupted thought, let alone make a meaningful personal change, but it can be done. In the last few months, I've altered my life goals that I've had for years and left them behind, going from wanting to cover industries I love to realizing that maybe, one, I shouldn't be covering some of this shit unless it's for a meaningful reason, and two, that I could be doing so much more important things with my time to contribute towards the fight for a better future, while simultaneously still having time to enjoy the shit I love, even if I have to believe that some of that, for ethical consumption reasons, need to be left behind. Along with generally just trying to be more careful of what I support, I've tried to look at ways I can contribute better to the world, be that through my recent chats with effective altruism or the career path I intend to follow with my master's and, finance depending, my PhD. I'm currently trying my best to integrate myself into a fight for the future because of my realization that my worldview and goals were inherently individualistic and needed to change because I really cannot stand the world I'm faced with at the moment, and working in pro wrestling coverage isn't going to do fucking dick about that. Like, yes, we know. Cody Rhodes won again. It's all good. If a career change isn't for you, try donating some of your income to effective causes regularly. Volunteer, join protests, dial back on unethical consumerism, fucking vote. Voice your displeasure on the politicians shaping your world. Read and be more informed about the world around you. Just pick up a pitchfork, join the fight, and do something meaningful. I'm going to call the video there, and I understand now the irony of immediately segueing to asking you to follow me on social media or subscribing to the channel, given the very platforms I'm sharing this on are hot garbage. But sometimes you gotta play the cards you're dealt. Playing within the system to get your message out there, which is an unfortunate reality we face, but that doesn't mean we can't use these platforms as tools to spread important information despite the hellscapes that they are. So, please do like, share, and subscribe for more. Follow me on socials here. Go fucking do some good for somebody somewhere, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.